everybody, welcome back to Fixit Finance. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 money mistakes to avoid. So I was listening to a podcast this week, and there was an author called Dan Heath that came on the podcast, and he just wrote this book called Upstream, and it's basically how the book talks about how to solve problems before they start. And he shared this story that really touched me. So before I get right into the story, remember to like this channel, click subscribe, and share this video with your friends. So the story goes, apparently there were two guys swimming by a river, and then what happens is all of a sudden they saw this child drowning. So the two of them, they rush in, they jump into the river, and they save the child. No sooner had they saved that child, cleaning the child up, trying to make sure the child gets warm, all of a sudden they start hearing another scream, and they see another child drowning. So the two of them again ran into the water, saved the child, and they brought that child back to the shore. And then same thing happened again. They saw another child, so the two of them rushed back in and saved the child. And then when they came back to the shore again, one of the friends was like, screw this, and then started walking away. And then the other friend was like, you can't leave me, clearly there's something happening and these kids keep drowning. And then the other friend said, no, I'm not leaving you, I'm just walking up the stream to go and figure out who is throwing these kids into the water. He's trying to fix the problem from the root cause. Now, the reason I share that story is because these are some of the money mistakes that I personally have found, and in dealing with people, and just in research and reading books about money and books about investing and books just in general, some of the money mistakes that I think people should avoid in their financial journey. The point of that story is basically just to show us it's better to deal with an issue, deal with problems, trying to find solutions to problems before they start. And actually, it's one of those books that I'm actually really interested in reading. It's on my to-read list for 2020. So thank you, Dan, in case you ever watch this video. So the first money mistake you want to avoid is not getting enough financial education, or not being financially educated at all. That is the single most detrimental thing to your personal finance journey you could potentially do as an individual, as a family, as a business. You always want to get financial education. Now, financial education comes in many means. There are many things out there. There are many forms. The trick is to find your guru or your gurus, maximum 2 to 3, and stick with those. You know what I mean? So listen to what they listen to, hear what they hear, learn what they learn. Try and find people that share your same values, your same beliefs, and spend your time actually getting financially educated. There's a part of the Bible that talks about precept upon precept, line upon line. It's not about knowing everything at once. It's about you add to the knowledge every day. Someone like myself, I love podcasts. I'm currently in the process of getting an Audible membership because I really want to start listening to books more, because I like to read. It's just I'm in school, there's a lot on my plate. So, but I do love listening to podcasts. So now I'm transitioning into audiobooks so I can expand on some of the knowledge. But like, podcast is a good way to get knowledge into yourself. YouTube, you know what I mean? While you're working, while you're showering, while you're on a walk, while you're at the gym, you could be adding to your financial knowledge. So that is one thing that is very crucial to success. Well, personal finance success that I find is that you want to make sure you're learning about financial topics, issues, things in general. You should know at least the bare minimums, okay? The second thing, sorry, my notes are here if you see me looking down. The second money mistake you want to avoid is you don't want to have expenses that are too high. So I find one of the things I notice, especially when I help people, when we sit down and we do a budget, or we do just an analysis, and we just kind of we realize the overhead is way too much. What do I mean by overhead? For example, you make $2,000 a month, your rent is $1,500. That is just way too high. You know what I mean? So a money mistake you want to avoid is to make sure that you don't have too high expenses. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't live in an apartment that costs $1,500. The trick is you want to find a way to create some margin between how much you make and how much you spend. And when your income goes up, you want to make sure you keep those costs low. So that leads me into the next point. The next point is to find ways to make more money. If you are at $15 an hour or however much an hour, whatever minimum wage is in your province, and you haven't increased your income in the last 2 years, you should find something to do about it, as much as is within your power. Now, I'm not saying there's not situations out there, especially with everything that's going on right now. What I mean is, you can find a way to add to your education, or find a way to add to learn something new that could potentially bring you in more money. If you're in the field of IT, for example, and you're simply a consultant, or you're simply like a junior IT whatever, I'm not really sure what the titles are. Find out what it takes to get to the next level and start doing the work necessary to get to that level. The long and short is, you want to make sure that you're doing something such that you're investing in yourself, such that in the near future those investments would have a payback. You want to find ways to increase your income. The first one is the way I talked about, reduce your expenses, but there's only so much you can reduce your expenses. After some time, you're going to have to go out there and figure out how to increase your income. The next thing, which is the fourth point, is not having a financial plan or a financial blueprint. What does that mean? For example, myself and my husband, we've already written down what our financial plans are. And it doesn't have to be anything robust. What we did was, we looked at some of the things that are around and we said, okay, we want to, pay off our debts by this time. We want to pay off this by this time. We want to make sure we have this much in savings by this time. We want to grow our net worth to this by this particular year. We just have like 3 things written down that are our main goals for between now and the next 5 years. You know what I mean? And then after that, we'll continue as we grow. So just having a blueprint, just having a basic financial plan. What does that look like? Even if it's just writing your top 5 goals or top 5 things you want to achieve in your finances. One could be, I want to pay off my student loan. Another one could be, I want to have $10,000 in savings by September. Another thing could be, I want to, go for a $10,000, whatever it is. Just not having a blueprint, like a blueprint for your life. Some of you want to retire by the age of 40. What are you doing to make sure that that is going to be a reality? Some of you want to retire by the age of 60. The choices you're making now is gonna affect that time of retirement / freedom / just peace. Anyways, the last but not least is not being generous with your money. Now, I know this may sound a little counterintuitive. I'm telling you to decrease your costs, find a way to increase your income. There's always room for giving, especially in times like these. Find somebody, even if it's whatever, no matter how much it costs. The thing is, you as much as possible, as you grow in this trajectory on your financial journey, you want to give, in the sense of, if you're not able to give when you're only making $10, when you're making $100, you're not necessarily going to be a giver then. It's like a muscle. You have to exercise that muscle, you know what I mean? So make sure that as much as possible, even with the little you have, think of the story of like the Good Samaritan. With the little he had, he still helped. So find a way to help. Donate to your food bank. Find that person that lives around you who has been affected by COVID-19, or has been affected by any other reason, a family emergency, they lost their job, anything, whatever it is, and just find a way to help people. Sometimes it could be monetary, other times it could just be being there. So not being generous is one of those key money mistakes to avoid, because you want to make sure you're giving, in the sense of, it's like a pipeline. One of the best analogies I've ever heard about money was by Bishop Francis Waleoke, and he said, it's like a pipeline, in the sense of, if you decide to be a container, yes, you will be poured into, and then once you're full, the pouring stops. You know what I mean? But if you decide to be a pipeline, it's coming in and you're also helping it going out, then the inflow never stops. You know what I mean? Anyways, I hope that makes sense. But the long and short of it is 5 money mistakes to avoid. First one, get financial education. Make sure you are not one of those who's not getting financial education. 2, reduce your expenses. 3, try and make more money. Find ways to make more money, and to make enough money at least. 4, have a financial plan. 5, be generous. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Remember to like this this video, click subscribe, share with your friends, and if you have any other topics you want me to talk about, please let me know. See you in the next video.